We did communicate a lot, over the span of our relationship, the 4 years I knew him, we had a great friend. Are we still together? Well, it's to be determined. You guys are going to have to wait and see.
He had the accent. He had the suit. He had the slow, smooth, low voice that Darcey Silva once said reminded her of James Bond. He had the air of a man who had it all figured out. He came into Darcey's life as a friend at the lowest moment of her romantic life. He was her shoulder to cry on. He was her pen pal across the Atlantic. He was the man who was, on paper, supposed to be her healing. And then, fans, he turned out to be one of the most brutal, most savage, most quietly cruel partners this entire franchise has ever produced. His name is Tom Brooks. He is British. He is from Nottingham. He has spent the years since his time on television trying to construct an Instagram persona as a James Bond-style international man of mystery. And the breakup he gave Darcey Silva on national TV has been called, by entertainment journalists, one of the nastiest breakups in 90-Day Fiancé history. Welcome back to the Tell-All Tapes, your home for the most honest 90-Day Fiancé documentaries on YouTube. Tonight, we are doing the deep dive that fans have been begging us to do for years. The complete story of Tom Brooks, the lies, cheating, the Versace Fashion Show, the Canadian woman named Shannon, the Manhattan lunch breakup, the infamous question that broke the internet, the letter on Darcey's doorstep, Stacey Burns, the TLC blame game, all of it. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly why Tom Brooks went from Darcey's secret hope to the most hated man on British 90-Day Fiancé Twitter. Stay with me, because the receipts on this one are devastating. Let's start at the beginning. Around 2015, while Darcey Silva was still wrapped up in the early days of her toxic long-distance relationship with Jesse Meester, she connected online with another foreign man, a British divorcee in his late 30s who lived in London. His name was Tom Brooks. Tom and Darcey became friends. They messaged, they talked on the phone, they sent voice notes. They built, slowly, over years, the kind of long-distance friendship that, in the right circumstances, can quietly turn into love. When Jesse Meester broke Darcey's heart at the end of Season 2 of Before the 90 Days, Tom was right there waiting in the wings. He had been the steady, sympathetic voice in her ear during the worst of the Jesse drama. He had told her she deserved better. He had given her a soft place to land. And when she finally said yes to seeing where things could go with him, Tom looked, to fans, like he might be the redemption arc Darcey desperately needed. Darcey herself told Newsweek that Tom had a sexy voice, like James Bond. The franchise was rooting for her. The fans were rooting for her. Tom showed up on Before the 90 Days Season 3 with the charm dialed all the way up, the suits ironed, and the smile sharp. And, for the first few episodes, it actually looked like Darcey might finally get the love story she had been chasing for years. But the cracks started fast. Darcey flew to London to spend real, in-person time with Tom for what was supposed to be the deepening of their relationship. She had imagined a serious next step, maybe an engagement, maybe a future. Tom, instead, suddenly wanted to slow down. He didn't want commitment yet. He complained that she was too emotional. He criticized how animated she was at restaurants. He made faces at the way she expressed herself. When Darcey cried, Tom looked at her like she was an inconvenience. The James Bond fantasy started cracking the moment she actually showed up to be his Bond girl. Then came the moment that, even by Tom's standards, was downright bizarre. Tom, in what fans now consider one of the strangest pseudo-proposals in franchise history, gave Darcey the key to a house that he, in fact, did not actually own. The optics were romantic, the gesture looked grand, but the substance, fans, was a lie. He handed her a key to a property that was not his. And Darcey, in the moment, did not know that yet. Then, slowly, the photos started showing up online. Tom at the Versace Women's Spring-Summer 2020 Fashion Show in Milan in September of 2019. Tom at Milan Fashion Week, photographed close to a mystery blonde who looked, in some pictures, like a slightly taller, slightly slimmer version of Darcey Silva herself. Tom on the steps of a church in Nottingham, with his hands all over another woman, looking nothing like a man who was supposed to be in a long-distance relationship with the woman waiting for him in Connecticut. Fans started messaging Darcey on social media. Multiple women came forward telling her that Tom had been around them, dancing with them, getting close to them, while he was supposedly still her boyfriend. Darcey, fans, did the math. Tom had stopped making time for her. He hadn't even bothered to FaceTime her on her birthday in September. He had only texted, and in the same window, he had been at Milan Fashion Week, fashionably draped over another woman. The dots, fans, connected themselves. And what came next was one of the most legendary breakup scenes in the history of TLC. Tom flew to New York City. He asked Darcey to meet him for lunch in Manhattan. The setting was an upscale restaurant. The cameras were rolling. Darcey, true to form, showed up looking elegant, with her makeup perfect and her composure barely holding. The conversation started awkwardly. Tom tried to ease in. Darcey, by now, was nobody's fool. She brought up his absence on her birthday. She brought up his coldness. She brought up the photos. And then Tom dropped the bomb that fans have replayed thousands of times. He admitted, on camera, that he had met someone at Milan Fashion Week. He admitted, on camera, that her name was Shannon. He admitted, on camera, that they had shared a drink and an evening together. He admitted, on camera, that he had not told Darcey because, in his words, he had been, quote, confused about a few things. Tom claimed he believed his relationship with Darcey was over at the time he met Shannon. But the math, again, did not work. Tom and Darcey had not officially broken up before Milan. The argument they had had was nothing close to a breakup, and the fact that Tom had not told Darcey, had not been honest with her, had not given her the dignity of a clear ending, all of it pointed to one thing. He had been with two women at once. He had cheated. He had been caught. And he was now sitting across from her at lunch, trying to reframe his cheating as confusion. But here is the part, fans, that turned Tom from a messy ex into an all-time villain. Tom did not own his behavior. He did not say, "I am sorry." He did not say, "I am ashamed." He did not even say, "I should have told you earlier." Instead, he went on the offensive. He told Darcey on camera that she never let him finish talking. He told her she was self-obsessed. He told her that he hoped she wouldn't, quote, screw up her next relationship. He told her that the real problem was that she was still hung up on Jesse Meester, her ex from Amsterdam. He told her that, although she had had quotes, all of him at one point, she had self-sabotaged. He told her he now loved her like a sister. Let me say that again. The man who had been her romantic partner, the man she had flown across the ocean for, the man she had cried over for years, looked her in the eyes during a public breakup and downgraded her to a sister. After cheating on her. After lying to her. After embarrassing her in front of the world. And then, fans came to the line. The single line that has been screenshotted, tweeted, and memed more than almost any other moment in this franchise. As Darcey stood up to leave the restaurant, in pain, holding her dignity together by a thread, Tom Brooks looked at her in that smooth British voice and asked, quote, "Have you put on weight? Have you put on weight?" Read that again. Sit with it. The man who had just confessed to cheating, lying, and falling for another woman used his last sentence in their relationship not to apologize, not to wish her well, but to body shame her. That, fans, is what separated Tom from every other 90-day fiancé bad boyfriend before him. That single line. That single question. That single calculated cruelty. The internet erupted. Twitter lit up. Hundreds of fans piled into the comment sections to defend Darcey. The clip of the breakup went viral on every platform. And Tom Brooks, in one sentence, transformed from messy ex into permanent villain. But the saga didn't end at the restaurant. Tom, in true Tom fashion, doubled down. He drove from the Manhattan restaurant to Darcey's house in Connecticut. He tried to leave her a letter explaining his feelings. Fans, can you imagine? He cheated on her, body-shamed her, broke up with her at lunch, and then drove to her house to leave a love letter. Darcey did not let him in. She slammed the door in his face, And in one of the most satisfying moments of the season, her sister Stacey took the letter, walked it to the fireplace, and burned it. Burned it. Twins. Fans. Twins protect each other. That moment was justice in the most theatrical way imaginable. Tom got back in his car. He told the producers in a confessional that he had, quoted, actually found some happiness with Shannon. Then, in the kind of sentence that should be studied by future villains, Tom said, quote, God knows after putting up with Darcy, I deserve it. After putting up with Darcy. That was his actual on-camera framing, as if loving a beautiful, kind, vulnerable mother of two for years had been a hardship he was now graduating from. The internet, predictably, came for him with even more fury. Then came the tell-all. The host, Sean Robinson, sat Tom down across from Darcy and asked the question every viewer wanted answered. Tom, why didn't you just tell Darcy that you were seeing someone else? Tom's response, quote, we'd had a huge argument. I was in Milan. I was at a fashion thing and I met someone. Darcy did the math out loud. Fashion Week was in September. Her birthday was in September. The two timelines overlapped, which is why he hadn't called her on her birthday, which is why he had only texted. The full picture of Tom's deception became impossible to deny. Tom even tried to claim that he had not technically cheated because he had believed the relationship was over. But Darcy, Stacey, and most fans were having none of it. You don't get to decide a relationship is over without telling the other person, fans. That is not how breakups work. That is how betrayal works. After the tell-all, Tom kept trying to spin the story. He blamed TLC. He claimed the editing had made him look bad. He said the producers had cherry-picked the worst of his behavior. He pushed his James Bond image online. He started a second Instagram account focused on travel content, showcasing himself in sharp suits in glamorous locations, like a wannabe Seven trying to rebuild his reputation through aesthetics. Fans were not buying it. The 90-Day Fiancé community started circling Tom on every platform. He became one of the most consistently dragged ex-boyfriends in the franchise's history. Memes were made of his James Bond aesthetic. Reaction videos racked up millions of views. His attempts at maintaining a sophisticated, untouchable image only made fans more eager to call him out. The relationship with Shannon, by the way, did continue for a while after the breakup with Darcy. There were photos, there were updates. But over time, even that quietly faded out of the public eye. Tom slipped further and further away from reality TV. He has not made any major franchise appearance in years. He is, by all available evidence, mostly out of the 90-Day Fiancé universe at this point. But fans, here is what makes the Tom Brooks story so important to understand. Tom was not just a bad boyfriend. Tom was a particular kind of bad boyfriend, the kind that smiles in your face and lies behind your back, the kind that gives you a fake key to a house he doesn't own, the kind that texts you on your birthday instead of calling because he is across the world with another woman, the kind that, when caught, blames the woman he cheated on, the kind that, in his final words to her, asks if she has gained weight. Tom represents a specific archetype that exists not just in reality TV, but in real life. The man who is charming, articulate, well-dressed, and emotionally hollow. The man who looks like security and acts like sabotage. The man whose worst behavior is always somebody else's fault. Many women in the audience watching Darcy's breakup with Tom saw their own exes in him. They saw the man who had charmed them and then turned cold. They saw the man who had cheated and then blamed them for it. They saw the man who had ended the relationship with a body comment instead of an apology. And in seeing that, they finally had a name and a face for an experience that many of them had lived in private. Tom Brooks, in a strange way, became a public symbol for private pain. That is part of why this breakup resonated so deeply. It wasn't just Darcy's heartbreak. It was the audience's heartbreak, too. And one more thing, fans, before we wrap up, we need to talk about Shannon, because Shannon, the Canadian woman Tom started dating in Milan, has been mostly painted as the villain in this story. But in interviews and clips, Shannon herself has said that when she met Tom, she believed he was single. She thought Darcy was dating another man. She did not know the full picture. Now, fans can decide for themselves whether to believe Shannon. Some viewers think she had to have known. Some viewers think Tom lied to her, too. But it is worth noting, just for fairness, that the woman Tom called his happiness was also, in some ways, manipulated by him. He told her one story. He told Darcy another. He told the cameras a third. And every version of the story conveniently centered Tom as the victim. That, fans, is the calling card of a man who cannot tell the truth about himself, even when the cameras are recording. That is Tom Brooks. So where does that leave us in 2026? Darcy is 50. She has been through Jesse, Tom, and now the rough years with Georgie. Tom is somewhere in the United Kingdom, posting James Bond-style content on Instagram, completely out of the 90-Day Fiancé spotlight. The breakup at the Manhattan lunch lives on in viral clips. The letter Stacey burned has become a meme. The Milan Fashion Week is forever stained, for fans of this franchise, with the memory of Tom and Shannon. And every time a new bad boyfriend shows up on the show, fans inevitably compare him to Tom. Tom remains the gold standard for a particular kind of villain in this franchise. Not the loud, screaming villain. The cold, smooth, smiling villain. The one who breaks your heart with manners and a British accent. And if you have ever been hurt by a man like that, fans, this story, more than any other, will hit you somewhere in the chest. Because the Toms of the world exist far beyond reality TV. They walk into our lives, our DMs, our long-distance romances. They wear suits, they charm parents, they speak softly, they wait, patiently, until you are at your most open, your most vulnerable, your most in love. And then, fans, they hand you a key to a house that they never owned. So tell me, in the comments below. Honestly, was Tom Brooks the worst man Darcey Silva ever dated? Worse than Jesse Meester? Worse than Georgie Rusev? Or somewhere in the middle? Did you cheer when Stacey burned that letter? Was that satisfying, or was it too much? Do you think Shannon actually knew Tom was cheating, or was she innocent in the whole mess? And the big one, fans. If Tom Brooks walked up to Darcy today, in 2026, with the same accent and the same smile and another apology in his hand, do you think she would even open the door? Tell me where you stand. And if Tom Brooks is the biggest red flag in 90-Day Fiancé history for you, drop a red flag emoji in the comments. Let's flood the comments with red flags. For every Darcy. For every Shannon. For every woman who has ever loved Tom and lived to tell the story. If this hits you somewhere honest, smash that like button. Subscribe to the Tell All Tapes for new 90-Day Fiancé documentaries every single week. Share this with the friend who needs to hear the Tom Brooks story today. This was the Tell All Tapes, and we will see you in the next one.